Well, Bitcoin's treated as property right now, so that means that you can sell the property, take the capital loss, and you have the option to buy property in the future or to have bought it in the past, and that's a different tax basis. So we have some capital gains that we pay taxes on, and then we have some capital losses in the Bitcoin. So by selling the Bitcoin and taking the capital loss, we're able to use that to offset some capital gains. So it's very tax efficient for the corporation.
According to a recent filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor's business intelligence software firm, purchased 2,395 Bitcoin between November 1 and December 21. The purchase was made through the firm's MicroStrategy subsidiary and cost around $42.8 million. The firm also sold approximately 704 Bitcoin for $11.8 million on December 22, the first of such transactions since it adopted its Bitcoin strategy in 2020. MicroStrategy purchased another 810 Bitcoin for $13.6 million on December 24, bringing its total Bitcoin holdings to 132,500 Bitcoin. The software firm adopted its Bitcoin strategy in August 2020 and has continued to stockpile the crypto asset. Earlier in the year, Saylor, the firm's executive chairman and former chief executive officer, told Bloomberg that the company had no plans of selling its Bitcoin. So the sale has led to speculation that the company was changing or abandoning its Bitcoin strategy. Shortly after the news broke on Wednesday, Saylor hosted a Twitter space with digital assets manager Eric Weiss to clear the air about the unusual transaction. During the space, Saylor discusses his decision to step down as MicroStrategy's chief executive officer, his current role in the company's decision-making process, and the firm's renewed vigor toward Bitcoin and the Bitcoin strategy. Before we listen to Saylor, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more crypto-related videos. Also, ensure you drop your comments and observations in the comments section below, as it helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
First of all, I'm still the controlling shareholder of MicroStrategy, so I have the majority of the voting shares, and I'm still a full-time employee. So executive chairman means that you're actually a full-time employee of the company. The reason that we did that is because the company now has two different businesses. It has a business intelligence business, which is the one that I started 30 years ago. And it's 2,000 people, and it's thousands and thousands of customers, and it's all over the world. And it requires a lot of intense activity and very hands-on. Like you're doing thousands of deals every year, and you're hiring and firing hundreds of people or more. And you're responsible for thousands of partners, thousands of customers, thousands of employees and the like, and you have to be very laser-like focused on that business. And we can't not do that. It's the cash cow, and it generates the revenues of the company and generates cash flows. And of course, we have an obligation to our customers. The second business that we have, though, is our Bitcoin strategy, which is a pretty novel new business strategy. And that's also a full-time job, keeping up with Bitcoin, educating on Bitcoin, and then working through the capital markets issue of Bitcoin and the communications of it requires a lot of intensity. So the reason that we did this, and it was my idea to do it, is it was good for the business intelligence business to have a full-time hands-on leader, and that's who Phong is. It's also good for me to be able to focus all of my efforts on Bitcoin without creating the appearance or the actual circumstance where I'm not paying enough attention to the core business intelligence business. And this way we can have our cake and eat it too. I think Phong is very good at what he does, and it was natural career progression for him. And it's a natural career progression for me to focus upon our Bitcoin strategy and Bitcoin in general.
But can you articulate a little bit, in more detail what the Bitcoin strategy is for MicroStrategy, and apropos of today's announcement, how you envision using equity and debt to pursue that strategy?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, our strategy is is acquire and hold Bitcoin, and that's the corporate version of Stay Humble and Stack Sats. So we're going to continue to dollar cost average at the corporate level into Bitcoin, and the agenda or the goal is just to continue to build a larger and larger Bitcoin-backed treasury. And you can read that in our filings. There are a few moving parts on this, right? If it was as simple as we're simply going to sweep our cash flows into Bitcoin, that's the same as just saving your excess salary in Bitcoin year after year after year for 30 years running. It's very simple. But the thing that makes it a bit more complicated as a corporation is we have cash flows that come from other asset sales, and we have the ability to buy and sell assets and use them to buy Bitcoin. For example, we sold voice.com, that domain, for $30 million. Some of that money found its way into Bitcoin. We do have the cash flow of the core business, but we also have the ability to issue various debt instruments and various equity types. So, the debt could be convertible debt, it could be senior secured debt, it could be any other kind of secured debt. In fact, we did a Bitcoin-backed loan, we did a junk bond that was secured, and then we did a couple of convertible debt offerings. And then, of course, we can issue equity, and the equity gets issued in various ways, but the most straightforward is an at-the-market shelf registration, where we have the ability to sell equity into the market from time to time. And we had $1 billion at-the-market shelf registration last year, and we sold $1 billion of that equity at prices in excess of $700 a share. And then we have a $500 million equity shelf registration outstanding right now. And we sold about $46 million worth of that shelf registration in the past quarter, and we just disclosed that today. The decision as to how we acquire Bitcoin and how we manage, asset sales, debt, or equity is a bit complicated because it's market driven. The nice thing about the equity is it's permanent capital flowing into the Bitcoin ecosystem, and it's permanent capital that flows into the MicroStrategy enterprise. So there are no redemption rights, there's no dividend associated with it. It's, in essence, the $46 million this quarter is $46 million of capital that we have forever.
In August, about 2 years after MicroStrategy bought its first Bitcoin, Saylor announced he was stepping down as the chief executive officer of the business intelligence firm. Many speculated that the firm's shareholders had booted Saylor off after the company posted an unrealized loss of over $1 billion in Q2 of 2022. However, Saylor has continuously dispelled the rumors and speculations. During a space with Weiss, the business executive also discussed the reason for selling 704 Bitcoin and whether or not MicroStrategy was considering selling more of its over 130,000 Bitcoin.
Well, Bitcoin's treated as property right now, so that means that you can sell the property, take the capital loss, and you have the option to buy property in the future or to have bought it in the past, and that's a different tax basis. So we have some capital gains that we pay taxes on, and then we have some capital losses in the Bitcoin. So by selling the Bitcoin and taking the capital loss, we're able to use that to offset some capital gains. So it's very tax efficient for the corporation. In terms of, there are two other points to make on this. One is MicroStrategy is fairly unique in that it's an operating company with a Bitcoin strategy. We're not an SEC 40 reporting company, so we're not an ETF. And if you were not an operating company, you wouldn't kind of have the flexibility or as much flexibility to do things like this. And because we generate capital gains or we generate various tax gains in other parts of our business, then acting in a tax efficient way is good for our shareholders. So we look at our overall situation, and we've got corporate opportunities in the area of tax, and then there are market conditions we have to consider. And our view toward tax management is we want to be measured, but we want to be flexible. That means you have to be kind of thoughtful and responsible when you consider these opportunities. So we wouldn't do anything at any time, but there are particular opportunities, particular times where it makes sense, where I feel like it's prudent, good for the shareholders, and we can manage the risk of it.
The question I get by far the most from folks is some version of, is Michael selling? So I know the answer, but I'll give you the opportunity to articulate it any way you like. Is there an exit strategy? And if the exit strategy is to hodl Bitcoin forever, can you envision anything that might cause you to change this strategy going forward?
Bitcoin is the exit strategy. So what would cause us to change our strategy? Well, I'll make a couple of points. First of all, people that look at Bitcoin, they're either traders, they're technocrats, or they're maximalists. So the traders, they just want to trade it, right? They don't have any particular opinion on it long term other than as an asset to trade. The technocrats' view is it's a digital monetary network, and it's like Google or Facebook or Apple. It's like a big tech network, and so if they invest in tech, they'll hold it, but they may try to time their investments based upon macroeconomics or something. The maximalist view is it's an instrument of economic empowerment, and it's just a good for the human race. And if you're a maximalist, you tend to have a much longer time horizon. The technocrats are making investments over the course of 5 years or so, and they think that's long, 5 or 10 years or 3 years. But you're a maximalist, you're looking out 10 to 100 years, and probably you're looking at 100 years because you believe that this is good for the human race. We're maximalist. We think that Bitcoin is more than just a digital monetary network. We think it's the digital monetary network. It's good for the human race, and anything we can do in order to encourage adoption of Bitcoin and to help with the adoption of Bitcoin is going to be good for the world.
Meanwhile, popular on-chain analyst Willy Woo has reservations about MicroStrategy's latest round of Bitcoin purchases. In a recent tweet, Woo notes that Bitcoin investors should not be celebrating the purchase as it poses centralization risks. Here is Willy Woo's tweet. Bitcoiners shouldn't be celebrating MicroStrategy buying more Bitcoin. It poses centralization risks. Even though it's publicly traded and owned, its decision-making is centralized. Bitcoiners should celebrate its adoption by ordinary people using it to solve problems. He explains further in another tweet, which reads, cornering the market on an asset means you control the market. If whales control an asset, you will be rugged. This happens even if the network is perfect. I'll give another example. Imagine if we found out the US government had bought 50% of all Bitcoin in existence. Do you think it would continue to be adopted by other nation-states as a coin with no political alignments? What are your thoughts on Michael Saylor's space and MicroStrategy's latest Bitcoin transactions? Like Willy Woo, do you think the company could impact the decentralized status of the Bitcoin network? Please drop your thoughts, comments, and observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.